Like, you're gonna seriously sit there with your whole head ass and tell me that is not an indigenous nose? Those are not indigenous lips? Seriously? If his skin was slightly lighter and he had bone straight hair, you wouldn't question for a second if he was indigenous. But because he's dark and because he has a strong curl type, you only see him as black and you can't see him as anything else.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. And if you're new here, then just welcome. My name is Achila Yona. Today I want to talk about this whole indigenous erasure bullcrap that these natives that be trying to pull out the woodworks. And look, let me tell y'all something when it comes to my channel. If I find out something is fraudulent or fake going on, best believe I'm gonna call it out. And I know some people have been upset that I've been calling out the FBA and all these other groups and saying, oh, we'll just focus on the Mexicans. No, I'm gonna focus on anybody out here that is trying to lead our people with false information. And best believe the video about the Moors I will release tomorrow will drop, okay? And I have so much tea on the Moors, babe. Like, y'all not gonna be ready for the information I have on them tomorrow. But nonetheless, anyway, with these natives, they love to yell out, oh, what these blacks are doing is indigenous erasure, but yet they never want to sit here and talk about the role that they played with exiling you melanated Aboriginal American people, our tribes, and how they teamed up with the pale colonizers to take our people down. And that has happened, and it continues to happen. And one thing I noticed is that the natives, they will sit here and make all these racist, derogatory names towards you melanated Aboriginal American people. But when they get in a pinch, when they get in a bind, when it's time for them to go against their white zaddy, because remember, a lot of natives, they like to sit here and say that they're full blood and they're indigenous, but yet these people are mixed white people. They have high amounts of white ancestry, and they know that they have been fathered by pale men, pale European men. And so they like to make this notion that they're indigenous people, but yet they're mixed white people. So they like to sit here and say, oh, well, it's indigenous erasure, when in fact they're not being truthful about their own identity. There's no such thing as white passing native. Like, you're either a mixed white person or you're just a white person, period. Okay, like, you white passing, but yet your dad is a white man, your mom is a white woman. Like, come on now. If anything, a lot of them are biracial or multiracial, and they want to sit here and claim the Native American title because, for one, Native American originally came from the Know Nothing Party. It was a secret party where if someone come up to somebody and say, hey, do you know such and such, and they say, shh, I know nothing. And then later on they coined the term Native American because they were against immigrants coming over to America and taking their jobs, which we see this repeating now in our own time. Like, I swear history repeat itself. So these natives, they always want to sit here and say people are erasing their identity and how black people are not indigenous, but they never want to sit here and talk about how people question their identity as well. They never want to sit here and talk about how when they go to the powwows, they be trying to keep them from dancing, how they get outcasted from the native community, and so on and so forth. So they are not the only people that are being questioned about their identity. They love to sit here and say, oh, well, if you're not enrolled or have an ID card, then you're not native, this, that, and the third. But yet that does not keep you from being questioned, okay, when it comes to your identity, because there are plenty of pale people who have infiltrated our indigenous nations and our tribes that possess a Native American tribal ID card or is enrolled in a tribe today. And now we see a whole bunch of natives trying to push the narrative that Mexicans are indigenous Americans. And I laugh because it's just like, yo, it's like they're doing the same thing that they claim that we are doing. Because first of all, the term Mexican is a nationality, okay? And I have seen some people say, oh, well, Mexican originally meant like like, you know, an African and a native mixture or whatever. But the thing is, Mexican now is a nationality. So you have indigenous Mexican, you have you melanated, quote unquote, black Mexican, you have a white Mexican. Like, there are so many different types of people that live in Mexico that you can't just sit here and say, oh, well, you know, Mexicans are indigenous, because some of the Mexican population have been fathered or parented by the Asian community. They have been parented by Asian people, hence the Manila Galleon. So they never want to talk about that, though. They never want to talk about how they had Asian people integrate into Mexican communities, and how they interracially dated and they had children and so on and so forth. They never want to talk about that, though. But yet, when it comes to you melanated Aboriginal American people, they always want to bring up this supposed African ancestry. And remind you, it wasn't even that many Africans that came over to mainland America to begin with. And also, the Africans that did come over here, some of them were also putting Aboriginal people into subjugation, aka the Moors, aka African conquistadors. So I'm going to show y'all these videos, and one of them is about a quote unquote black native, talking about how she's indigenous. And mind you, the person that she claims that she come from, she is one of those like Eurasian natives. Like, you kind of tell she's mixed too. But and just see the backlash that she get for claiming her identity. And then notice the natives in the other videos that talk about how people don't dictate to their identity and so on and so forth. So I'm going to show y'all those videos, and I'm going to come back with later commentary.
You are white. What are you?
I'm literally Mexican.
No, no, you're not.
You're gonna look at me and you're gonna tell me that I'm wrong? Am I wrong?
Ancestry tree research is becoming increasingly popular, but many people put their research at risk by only saving it on their computers. If your computer breaks, retrieving your research will be difficult, if not impossible. Online memberships can be costly, and forgetting your password can cause you to lose all your work and start over. Preserve your research with our fillable family group sheets. Introducing School of Yona, our family tree organizer. Designed to help you safeguard your ancestry, our family tree organizer comes with personalized sheets that can list one couple, their parents, and up to 24 children and spouses. Entries provided for ancestors who are listed on the Indian rolls and slave schedules, and also 40 two-sided sheets in all, and much more. Share them at holiday gatherings or pass them down to future generations. The benefits are endless. The link to our organizer is in the description box below. Effectively preserve your ancestry today.
I said what I said, TikTok.
Native royalty. They try to ban me because I'm trying to teach y'all about something y'all need to know. Miss Bow and Arrow of the Dozer Park Powell in the Pacific Northwest. I'm from Portland, Oregon, you guys. Like, come on. They don't want me to be great. I'm showing proof of my heritage, of my lineage, and still my account got banned because my influence. Like, I'm trying to teach oppressed people the side of them, if they do have the side, what they need to know. And I'm shadow banned. But all these girls, TikToks, have 1 million followers and stuff. Weird. TikTok, y'all are messing up our people, period. So I guess this is a Google image of me of being native royalty, I guess, too. On a horse, taking a photo shoot on a native ranch in a reservation. If you want to read about my grandmother, there's a whole book, but it's not on sale anymore. So I think you're just going to have to kind of dig deep in your soul and think maybe this girl knows who she is in her family, because it's mine, not yours. My great-great-grandmother is very famous in Washington. My family, my great-grandmothers saw the first white settlers in Washington, the state of Washington. We're not talking about the whole country. When they came to Washington, my family saw the first white settlers on our land. That's it, that's all.
So y'all have seen those videos, and look, like I told y'all guys before, these natives are very selective in who they allow in their circle, and it's pretty obvious that they're gonna sit here and pick the mestizos who are mixed just like them to sit there and say they're the same as them. Because one thing I noticed is that we live in a racial hierarchy, and the closer to whiteness you are, the closer to purity and social status you are as well, the higher social status you have. So obviously in the native community, they are practicing racial hierarchy because a lot of, like I said before, a lot of natives have white ancestry, and they have huge amounts of white ancestry, which leads me to say that they are mixed white people. So I think it's very, very, very funny how they sit here and say, oh, well, you can't dictate to me being indigenous, and oh, well, you can't define my indigenousness. But yet when it comes to you melanated American people who have indigenous ancestry and can prove that they have indigenous ties to America, it's, oh, well, you're African, you can't be indigenous, and you're black, and you're a wabo, and all this, that, and the third. So I just think it's very, very plain and simple where obviously where their loyalty is at and who they are as a group of people. Because like I said before, these mixed white people, these mestizos, have worked with their white daddies to bring Aboriginal American people into subjugation. So I think it's just very funny how they always trying to dictate to other people their aboriginality, but yet when it comes time to put their indigenousness under a microscope, then it's, oh my god, like, this is so racist, you can't subjugate me to this, you can't define my indigenous. How? Why can't I? Because how is it that you always want to sit here and say that we come from Africa and pick up some type of imaginary African ancestry that we supposedly have, but yet when we can sit here and prove that y'all come from the nutsack of a white man, then it's, oh, well, you don't define my ancestry and blah, blah, blah. No, it doesn't work like that. You're not exempt from this drill. You're not exempt from people looking at your ancestry underneath a microscope, a telescope, any of the scopes, for us to sit here and say, no, like, you're not the original people. And let's be honest, a lot of these natives on the reservation, if not all of them, have been bleached out. They have been bleached out, and this is the product of what happens when you continuously mix out with other races of people. This is what happens. You get people who look like natives going around talking about how they're the original people when they know they have more white ancestry than probably white people do themselves. And that just goes on to say Mexicans are not indigenous people. Okay, a lot of them have Spaniard DNA, they have Spaniard ancestry, they have white ancestry, they have Asian ancestry. They just have, like, their ancestry is just very diverse and very mixed. And plus you have to see like who they talking about, because they're not going to sit here and talk about the melanated Mexicans with straight hair and curly hair like how their white counterparts have. No, they're never going to talk about them. They always going to direct it to the mestizos who are closer to whiteness. And that should just show people where their mind is at. Because I have seen some you melanated people trying to back up the natives and say, oh, stop indigenous erasure. And look, them Negroes don't know nothing. They don't know nothing, and they probably would never know nothing, because a lot of people don't know nothing about genealogy. They don't know nothing about looking at ancestry records to know who they are. Genealogy is very important. And that's why the natives holler all day, every day, take a DNA ancestry test, because they know that they have been set as the standard when it comes to matching DNA from the Americas, because they know that they are of mixed blood. And on my video this past Saturday, we actually talked about how these natives were mixing in with the Chinese and they're mixing in with the Europeans and so on and so forth. So how is it that they're going to sit here and base indigenous American ancestry off on mixed white people DNA? It just doesn't make any sense. And that's why these scientists are coming out and saying, hey, there's no diagnostic nucleotide to say that this person comes from this country or this person comes from that country. But nonetheless, I think it's really weird how that melanated girl, who's obviously mixed, has a Eurasian native ancestor and the natives still don't accept her. But yet, let the roles be reversed though. Then people be saying how people are trying to erase her identity, and how people are just being so hateful to her because they got that girl account terminated for just speaking her truth. And I mean, honestly, the thing is, the natives just don't want nobody who's darker and have a stronger curl type claiming any ties to America. It just is what it is. That's the real Aboriginal erasure that we're facing. Is a war on melanin, and it's obvious to that. And I want to reiterate that it wasn't that many Africans over here to begin with. It wasn't that many African slaves that came over here. It was under 400k African slaves that came over here, and they only had documented almost 92,000 of them. So again, for them to sit here and say that every melanated person in the Americas is African or of African descent is a stretch. And they know it's a stretch. They know what it is. And not only that, but a lot of these natives get their indigenous ancestry through us. But what they fail to realize is that you can be bleached out of history. You can be bleached out when it comes to your genetics, when you constantly date out, intermarry out, and have children with other races. And I think that the natives are having a hard time with that because they have been pointing the finger so long at other people, especially you melanated Aboriginal American people, saying that we're not indigenous, we're not originally from here. But when we point out that white ancestry, it's like cognitive dissonance, like they just can't handle it. They can't handle it. But that's just what it is, though. We got to call this out more because these natives think that they have claims to our land and they really don't. Like, you're a white person now. You're a white person. You may have some admixture, but that will qualify you as a mixed white person. It is what it is. Let me know what y'all think in the comment section below. Don't forget to like and share this video. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the all notifications bell button to get notified when I go live and when I upload a new video. Thank y'all guys for watching. Until the next time. Bye.